Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in to my channel, Life with Everyday Haley. We talk about just about everything under the sun, from family, friends, fashion, and just life in general. So happy to have you with me today. So today I'm going to talk with you about a very important and eventful time in my life when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. I'm also going to share how I'm doing. I've been diagnosed now for 7 years and my journey through my diagnosis and treatment. So, I don't usually share this personal part of my life with everyone, but when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and showing intense symptoms, my disease was active and out of control. I remember looking to YouTube to see people's testimonies about their diagnosis and the symptoms they were having, and they really helped me understand what I was going through. So I wanted to make this video today for anyone watching on YouTube wanting to learn about rheumatoid arthritis, what symptoms to look for, and what exactly a diagnosis of this magnitude can do for your life. Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for tuning in today. So again, my purpose in making this video is if you have symptoms that you're unfamiliar with, trying to figure out if you have this condition, if you are recently diagnosed and moving toward a treatment plan and wanting to get your disease under control, I wanted to be here to help you and provide my testimony. So, a little bit about me. I studied business and I was in my senior year of college last semester, almost to graduation, was really close to my final exams. And I started having strange symptoms. It started with me one night waking up in the middle of the night and having a lot of pain in like my wrist area of one of my arms. And at first I thought, I've obviously just slept wrongly on this part of my body, whatever. And after a few days, it kind of went away, so didn't think anything of it. I was very active in the gym at school and worked out quite a lot, and I was actively going to the gym. So at this point, I was still functioning really well and able to kind of have a normal life. Well, then my knee flared up. One of my knees flared up, and it got to the point where I woke up with pain again, and I just could barely walk with that leg. And I thought, well, what have I done to my leg? And I kind of thought, well, maybe I did something in the gym. So my parents encouraged me, hey, you're working out too hard. You need to stop. You're not in high school anymore. I was a big soccer player. And they're like, you need to pay attention to like your body. And I was like, okay, but I didn't really do anything. So it kept progressing. And then about 2 weeks later, I woke up and I could not move like my right shoulder at all. And it was the type of pain that I knew something was very wrong. This is not normal. And I kind of panicked. I woke up, didn't go to class that day, and I just drove myself home, which isn't probably the smartest thing to do. I was 22, and I just went home and I just drove home basically with one arm and was like, we've got to get me some help. Who do I go see? What do I do? And it just continued to progress from there. So we went to my primary care doctor, and they kind of looked at me and they were like, this is very strange. You're not showing signs of anything other than you may have like pulled a muscle in your shoulder. At this point, I hadn't put the puzzle pieces together about the pain I'd had in my wrist or the pain I'd had in my knee, because I didn't know what was happening to me. And my primary care doctor referred me to a sports medicine doctor that was in the same building as her. He was able to work me in the same week and was able to examine my shoulder. Now, at this point, my shoulder was totally immobile. I couldn't move it maybe past right here. I had no, flexibility, could not use my arm, and it was pretty bad. So we were thinking, did I pull something? Did I injure myself somehow? What's happening? So he took an ultrasound of my shoulder and very quickly was able to tell me that there was really nothing wrong with my shoulder. Nothing was torn, but that there was a lot of fluid buildup, and he suggests that I see a rheumatologist. So my parents and I asked, what is this? And he said, I think she has rheumatoid arthritis. And when he said that, we were like, no, like, she's so young. Like, no, she doesn't. She doesn't. How could she have that? She's not no symptoms of that. Well, then he was like, have you had any other, like, spontaneous, mysterious pain over your body that was unexplainable? And we looked at each other and said, yes. And then I put the puzzle pieces together of my arm and my knee. But at this point, I was still very early in my disease journey, and it wasn't affecting me like enough to where it was like danger, danger, emergency. So he was like, you need to go see this. You need to go see a rheumatologist. And he referred me to my current rheumatologist that I still have for the past 7 years, and he was able to help me. Now, in between the time of me seeing this sports medicine doctor and getting in with the rheumatologist, I got progressively worse very quickly. And it started, I tried to go back to school. What else do you do? And I was only 22 years old. This is awful to think about. And it got so bad to where my shoulder would flare up and everything would be immobile, and then this one would flare up. I was having asymmetrical pain, which is very common in RA. It got my hips, both of my hips were getting to where I could barely walk. My ankles, my knees, my hands got to the point where I couldn't write at school. And I had to talk with my professors about how can she get through her final exams to graduate. I mean, for a little bit, I wondered if I was going to be able to graduate, but I was in so much pain that I didn't care. Now, my boyfriend at the time, luckily, I had met a guy and we had started dating a little bit before this came out. And he was a big help to help me around campus, to walk me to my classes, to carry my backpack, and actually help me. Some of the professors allowed him to like help me take tests and write for me, which was really kind that they understood what I was going through. And that boyfriend actually turned out to be my spouse. So definitely picked a good one there, and he has helped me through this journey along the way. When I was trying to get through my exams, he actually would take me to the doctor, and they were giving me steroid shots to try to calm down my inflammation when I was first diagnosed. So over the next couple weeks, after seeing that sports medicine doctor, I was finally able to get an appointment with the rheumatologist. And he, obviously, scheduling can be really hard. That's a big difficulty for people with RA. And the first diagnosis is just developing that care path and getting in. And sometimes people can wait a long time, and that just makes their disease even worse. The quicker that you can get into a rheumatologist, the better. And I was very blessed that I did get in really quickly. And my dad would called the doctor like a ton of times when I was really hurting. I was totally bedridden, and I could not get out of the bed, honestly, and I could not get up without help. I got to the point where I did have to go back home for, I think it might have been fall break or something like that, but I was unable to take care of myself on all levels of the word, and could not dress myself, could not brush my teeth, could not physically trying to sit up in the bed was excruciatingly painful. And it was a very dark part of my life. I'll say that. It was a very short part, but it was a very dark part. So if you are, having really intense symptoms like that, my disease came out really quickly. Seek medical help immediately. Even if you have to go to the emergency room, they may be able to help you or get you the care that you need quicker. It was a very bad time. So moving on from that, I have a great doctor. My dad got me in, and he saw me initially and did some blood work on me. And he did all kinds of blood work to make sure that he ruled everything out. And I'm an interesting person. There's a lot of people that are like me, but I'm a seronegative diagnosed rheumatoid arthritis patient. And what that means is that my blood work looks okay, but I have a lot of symptoms of the disease. And so technically you're diagnosed through ultrasounds and other testings and just a diagnosis of your symptoms. But based on my blood work, I don't really necessarily look like I have rheumatoid arthritis. But people like me, with the blood work that shows up that way, can actually have more severe disease. So it's all tricky. If you go talk to a rheumatologist, they can explain all of this to you. And he wanted to give it a couple weeks for the blood work to come back to see, how my symptoms were doing before he started me on a rheumatoid arthritis treatment, which makes sense. They have their care plans and things that they have to do. But in that 2 weeks, I was really struggling. And I just could not wait to get back in and get some help. So I went back in and he performed an ultrasound of my hands, which is one of the easiest ways to tell if someone has rheumatoid arthritis because your blood vessels show signs of trying to navigate the inflammation in your hands in layman's terms. And when he saw my ultrasound, he was visibly shocked at the progression of my disease and how quick it was. And that's honestly scary to think about. So I started on a rheumatoid arthritis treatment, was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, which actually ended up not to be as big of a surprise because rheumatoid arthritis is very common in women. Rheumatoid arthritis runs actually in my family. I have several family members, female family members that have the disease, and some male family members that have similar diseases. And it really did actually make sense when we determined my condition. So what that means for me is when I do have a child, specifically a female, if I have a daughter, we'll have to remember the symptoms that I've had and make sure we watch for any signs of that in her. Now, because I was so young when I was diagnosed, my doctor believes I may have had juvenile arthritis. I don't know, but my symptoms did come out around the age of 22. Now, what makes your symptoms come out? There's really no way to just pinpoint what makes someone's disease come out, why they come out certain times of their life, but there's things that are known to trigger. So for me, I had mono in college, which is the Epstein-Barr virus, and then within a year of having that, I was diagnosed with RA. So that's my theory. That's just a personal theory. I really don't talk to people about that, but that's something I have read about as being potentially a cause for it becoming non-dormant in your body. Another one that I've recently learned about because I am getting closer to that time in my life where I want to have a family is a lot of women are diagnosed after giving birth. And so that traumatic event kind of triggers that in their body. So it's very fascinating how these autoimmune diseases work. One more side note that I'll share is that rheumatoid arthritis is very common to lupus. Even potentially fibromyalgia. They have some similar symptoms, so being diagnosed can be a little tricky. For me, it's pretty straightforward as to what I have, but for some women it can be difficult, and then for some women they can have multiple autoimmune diseases in their body, so it doesn't have to just be RA. And also Crohn's disease is treated very similarly, so most of these autoimmune diseases are going to be treated by a rheumatologist and are actually treated primarily a lot of the same ways with the medications chosen. So it's very interesting how it all works. So I was put on my first rheumatoid arthritis treatment. That was kind of a whirlwind, being diagnosed the same day and then getting on treatment. But they reassured me that the sooner I get on treatment, the sooner I can get my life back. And I was put on methotrexate, which is the primary first treatment plan for rheumatoid arthritis patients. And it is an injection, so they had to teach me how to do an injection. And I took it once a week, and I took that for about 7 years. Now, I was one of those people that responded really well to methotrexate, and it took time for me to get to remission, but I did get there. And methotrexate is it's not painful, other than the initial needle, which is very small. It has limited side effects, hardly had any side effects, and it's very inexpensive. Cost me about $10 maybe every couple months, so it's not pricey at all. So it's a really good treatment for people with rheumatoid arthritis. And so I started taking it along with prednisone, which is a oral steroid, and combining the two, the prednisone really worked immediately. Within a couple weeks, I felt so much better and my inflammation went down, which is the goal. And then my treatment, it took about 3 months for that to start working. and I was able to get off of my prednisone because you don't want to be on that too long. Once my treatment started kind of working, and we weaned me off of the other one, and I started my methotrexate. So methotrexate for me, for the first couple years, it did take time for my disease to kind of calm down. I would often have flare-ups, and primarily in my shoulders, which is ironic. I mean, that's the first place where I really showed pain. So it kind of settled in my shoulders, primarily the shoulder right here. And so when I flare up, it's usually my shoulders. A couple other places that I would flare up at first were my fingers, my hands. And honestly, that's pretty much about it, other than my neck had some flare ups, and my knees had some flare ups. So it's interesting how it settles in different people's bodies, and not everybody has like the same symptoms or flare-ups, but for me it's usually my shoulders. So yeah, for the first couple years, I would have maybe a flare-up once a month, maybe the first 2 or 3 years, and then I got to a point where it was like, I'm not having as many flare-ups. And then it got to another point where it was like, hardly any. So I'm at the point now where I hardly ever have a flare up. I cannot even tell you the last time I had a flare up, which is phenomenal. But the only symptom that I do have is I do have, I think I call it inflammation pain. I'm not real sure what exactly it is, but sometimes late at night, I just have like a pain sensation in my hands and my arms and even up to my shoulders, but it's not a flare up. It's just like pain. So that's my only symptom, and it's not every day. It's not anything I can't cope with, but I do experience that sometimes. So flare-ups, what a flare-up is when your disease is flaring up in one joint and that joint has become really inflamed and it causes you pain. Sometimes you can't move that joint and it's just very painful. So what you do in a flare-up, you just kind of have to ride it out and let it pass. Now for me, when I first was diagnosed, flare-ups could last a couple days. And then now if I have a flare-up, it might last overnight and then it goes away. So as your treatment starts working more, your flare-ups should minimize and not be as intense. Now there are things that I have learned to do to cope with a flare-up. And there have been many nights, and it usually hits me at night, which is interesting, where I have cried a lot of tears. And luckily I have a very kind husband that usually will wake up with me, and he will try to console me, help me, get me what I need, and I'll just try to go back to sleep. So some of the things that I use in a flare-up are icy hot cream, Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol works really well for me in a flare-up. I'll usually take 2 of those, and then I'm really sleepy and go back to bed. My heating pad works great. I'll sleep with that heating pad on that joint, and at this point in my journey, if I wake up and it's still hurting, that surprises me. Usually it will have subsided for the most part. Now flare-ups are dangerous because that's when your body is being damaged. If you're having pain, you're having joint damage, and that's what you want to avoid with rheumatoid arthritis. So I kind of talked about getting diagnosed and just taking my treatment. One thing that I've done that really has made me be successful with my treatment is not skipping my treatments, making sure to take my treatments. And with methotrexate, I have seen my doctor every 3 months for the past 7 years. He does blood work on me and evaluates me, and he just makes sure that my liver levels are okay with that treatment and that my inflammation levels and everything look okay. So I'm constantly monitored, and he's constantly making sure that I'm okay, which I appreciate. And I go to those appointments because I want to be as healthy as I can. Another thing, I don't smoke, I don't drink, which drinking with methotrexate is not advised, but I really try to be healthy and exercise as much as I can. I can't run a lot, unfortunately. My knees bother me, but I do walk a lot. I'm trying to work on lifting weights right now because my shoulders have been really affected by my disease, and I'm trying to build up my muscular strength there. I have gone to physical therapy once for my neck flaring up, and my doctor recommended that. And so there are things that you can do along the way to try to be as healthy as you can and work through your diagnosis. But methotrexate has been a jewel for me. It has helped me get to where I am today. I got my life back. I was able to get married and I have a full-time job, office job, and I have been able to do things that a lot of people unfortunately haven't been able to do with rheumatoid arthritis. Another reason why my doctor thinks that I have done so well is I was diagnosed within a month or two of my symptoms appearing and was able to get on treatment soon. So again, the sooner you can get on treatment, the better your prognosis may be. Now, where am I at today? So today, I can say that, again, I haven't had a lot of flare-ups recently, which I'm thankful for. And I recently got off of my methotrexate. Now, that's not to say I came off my treatment for no reason. Even though you're in a state of remission, your physician will encourage you to stay on treatment because the chances of your disease coming back are pretty high. And if you can keep that disease under control, that's your goal. So even though I am technically in remission, I will never come off of my treatment. That's a personal decision that I have. But I recently changed off of methotrexate, which was a big deal for me because it's been something I've utilized for so many years. And I did that because methotrexate is unsafe for trying to conceive, pregnancy, and breastfeeding. And I would like to be a mom. So my doctor and I have talked about this for years because he realized I was a young woman, I was married, and eventually I'd want to have kids. And he's talked with me about a treatment called Cimzia that is safe for trying to conceive, pregnancy, and breastfeeding that he recommends for me. So I recently got on Cimzia, which is a different kind of injection, and I'm happy to report that I am still doing well on my Cimzia, and that's going great as well. I actually feel better, I think now than I did a couple months ago on my methotrexate. So maybe Cimzia is really working for me. But I have another video on my channel talking about my Cimzia injection, how I take that for people wanting to learn about that new treatment and how to take that, administer that injection. And I have another video just kind of talking about my trying to conceive journey if you'd like to view that as well. So what have I learned about having rheumatoid arthritis? Because I believe everything in life is a battle, a challenge, and we have to learn to overcome it. So some things I've learned. Number one, I'm a lot tougher than I thought I was. Number two, I have learned to be more patient and accept the good things in life and accept life for what it is and take every day as a blessing because I have kind of experienced the bad moments and I'm thankful that I've gotten my life back and I try to live my life to the fullest. Number three, I've learned that your health matters, taking care of your body and being attentive to your health. I'm very aware of my body at all times and what I need. Number four, it's okay if you can't do something or if your body limits you. It doesn't make you a failure. It's just a battle you're facing in your life and you have to just learn to adjust and adapt. And number five, you can't be regretful or grieve, what you're missing out on because, and it's easy to do that sometimes. It's easy to think, well, why me? Why am I dealing with this? Why is this so much harder for me than another person? You know what? Everybody has their own battles they're facing. Everybody has their own situations to deal with in life. And you have to take what you're given and work with it. And that's what I choose to do. And I choose to see this as a way to help others, like I am today in this video, and to spread awareness as well as learn and educate myself on these autoimmune diseases. So you can always find positive in things and you can always be grateful in your life. So just wanted to share that as well because I know this was kind of a negative video, but my life is beautiful and I'm thankful for the life that I have. All the things that I've learned over the past 7 years. And as a young person getting diagnosed at 22, that was quite scary, but I have a good support system around me and I've learned a lot about my health. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, would love to hear from you in the comments below. If you have symptoms and you have any questions about what you're experiencing and you want to talk, send me a comment, please. And also, please like this video if you like what I shared, and feel free to share it with a friend that might be having some strange autoimmune symptoms. And would love for you to subscribe to my channel and follow me along my journey of my trying to conceive, my health, and anything under the sun that we talk about on my new channel. And I'm so happy to have you along for the ride. So thank you all for watching and hope you have a great day.